welcome back to our channel. Today we're reviewing the Illuminate Cosmetics brushes. It's been a long time since we've done a review video and they're really fun for us, and anytime we get a new product we really want to let you guys know our opinions on it. So this is like a first opinion kind of video because we have only used these brushes once. So first impressions, yeah, and we used it today, so it's fresh in our minds and we have some notes. So first of all, the packaging is actually really nice. Like, it comes in this branded box, and if you've ever used any Illuminate products, they all come in this packaging, which I think is beautiful. And Illuminate is by BH Cosmetics and Ashley Tisdale. And they obviously Carly pulled in them, but they look like this. They have like what color would you say? Teal? It's teal. Teal green handles, gold ferrule. That's what it's called, yeah. Yeah. And they're really nice. Like, they look very nice. They look very nice, and they're $15, and you get how many brushes? I think there's 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 8. Yeah, there's 8. So $15 for 8 brushes. I mean, that's less than $2 a brush. So, you know, very, very affordable. But we'll get into the review. We'll go brush by brush. We're gonna start with brush number 1. Also, okay, first problem with these brushes is they're labeled with a number, but they're not labeled any other way. So for me, like, when it comes in a huge kit like this, I feel like you should say like powder brush or something. I don't know, that's just my personal preference. Obviously, like, you can use brushes any way you want to, but to just say 1, I feel like is a little, I don't know, just not enough description. I mean, that doesn't really bother me because there's a lot of Morphe brushes I have that are technically like, oh, this is a powder brush, but I'll use it for bronzer. And so I don't think that you necessarily need to label it because you can use it for whatever. There are no rules in makeup. But to her point, I do understand that if this is like your first brush set, it would be helpful to have it on the handles. So first up is the powder brush, and my first initial thought when I was using this was it's not dense enough. Yeah, I had the same exact reaction. I was like, it's like you can push it all the way down almost. And that's just, we have oily skin. So if you don't have oily skin and you literally like the lightest dusting of powder, this could possibly work for you. But if you need even the least bit of powder on your face, this won't really work. I think my main issue with it was because it's not densely packed, you lose so much product. Yeah. Because you were putting it in and then you have to hit it off and the powder just went flying everywhere because it couldn't hold in these bristles. So I'm like, well, I don't want to like waste so much powder. Yeah, and when you push it into your skin and you rub it around, it's just kind of like flying everywhere, and it's not like getting pushed into your skin like a tad more denser powder brush usually does. Yes, and I definitely prefer a tapered powder brush because I feel like then it's more densely packed on top and you can easily like dab your skin so it doesn't look cakey, whereas when you go like this, sometimes it can end up looking cakey and use too much. So this was a no. It was a no, but the only positive I would say is it is very soft. All of these are really soft. Next up is number 2. We're gonna go in order, and this is a standard stippling brush. We don't really use a lot of cream products like cream blushes or bronzers or anything, so we can't speak to this working well with that. I actually think it might, because Ashley has used it on her Snapchat. And and Illuminate brand has some cream blushes that look really pretty. That we have, so we will try it. Yeah, we will. But we normally use stippling brushes to blend out our powder, bronzer, and blush and just make it look really flawless. We each have a Morphe one we love, and I was so excited for this one because it is a little less dense than the Morphe one we have, and I kind of feel like sometimes that one is too dense and it like blends out too much, but this one is another no because it didn't blend enough. I was sitting there forever just like trying to blend, and it literally, I want to say, took me 5 minutes. That's not even an exaggeration. I think that's way too long to just blend powders. Like, it should work faster than that. Yeah, for me, I use a really big fluffy brush to put on bronzer, so I don't really need to blend that out as well. So for bronzer, I was like, oh, this might be okay. But then when I put my blush on and then tried to blend it out, it just did not want to blend at all. And so I think that if you don't need to blend that much, it might be okay. But once again, like if you are doing what we do, where you use primer, foundation, concealer, powder, bronzer, all of it, it's not gonna be able to blend through all those layers. Yeah, it isn't. And Britta didn't notice this, but I noticed a lot of shedding after I washed it and then today when I used it. I don't have any. So yeah, that could just be inconsistencies, but it wasn't good for me. It shedded a lot. And also, we forgot to mention, but these are all synthetic brushes, if you couldn't tell, but they are. Next up is number 3. So we use this in different ways. I used it for blush, and I will say, if you're using it for a pigmented blush, it's okay. Because, like we said with all these brushes so far, they don't pick up a lot of powder. The bristles aren't densely packed, so there's no way for the powder to stay in the brush. So if you're using a really pigmented brush and you kind of want a blush and you want it to look more natural, this actually does work, because with like a couple swipes you can easily just put it on the apples of your cheeks and it actually looked alright. So this one wasn't terribly disappointing, but then again, some of my blushes aren't really pigmented, so it would depend on the day. I could never use this every single day. And I use it for highlighter, so it is nice that we could use it for 2 different things. One thing that was bad about it for me was that it was too big, but that's my fault for using it for highlighter. And when I tried to kind of blend it, because it kind of created like a streak on my face, it didn't blend at all. Like, it was weird because it isn't densely packed, but for some reason it like packed on the pigment for me. I don't know how that worked out. So were you doing it this way? Yeah, I was doing it that way. See, and then I used it more this way. Yeah, so that could be fine. It could be like user fault or whatever, but it wasn't terrible. Out of like the ones we talked about so far, this one's all the best. Yeah. But I still won't use it that much. Next up is number 4, and it's an angled brush. We both decided to use this for bronzer, and this is terrible. It's the worst one. I mean, we already told you we didn't like the other ones, but this one is so bad. I wear a very light colored bronzer. It's not even that pigmented, and it's just my everyday bronzer, and this made it look dark and patchy, and it would not blend it out. Like, I'm so self-conscious about how my makeup looks right now because of this brush, mostly. Like, it just, oh my gosh. Okay, if you're gonna make like an angled contour brush, that's great, since it's still pretty much on trend. We don't really like to contour that much anymore, but anyways, aside from the point. You need to make it densely packed, or you need to make it in, but it's like bizarre. It's bizarre, again, that it isn't densely packed, but it somehow could not blend at all. Yeah, like, we prefer contour brushes with the round tops so that you can pack it on and blend it out in one brush. Yes. But if you're gonna make an angled one, it should be dense so that you can like almost not super pack on the color, but at least it's streamlined. Yeah, and then you can go back in and kind of work it around to blend it out. Like, you should never really need multiple brushes to blend something out, I feel like. Like, obviously we use stippling brushes to blend, but that's like when you're putting, I don't know, I have an issue with it. I'll never use this one. Yeah, me either. Next up is number 5. This is your standard crease brush. I will say this one wasn't terrible for me. I don't know what Carly thinks, but I used it as a transition color in the crease, and because I sometimes, you know, like don't really feel like being super precise, and a transition color is kind of supposed to be not really precise since it goes pretty high up on the eye. And it worked as a transition color brush, but then when I tried to use it in the crease with a darker shade, it wasn't great because, once again, it's not densely packed. So it didn't really blend into the crease as I would have liked, but as a transition color it worked, so it's not a terrible crease brush. And mine, so we washed them last night, and mine like got bent out of shape after washing it. I don't know, Britta's looks fine. Mine looks fine, yeah. But, so mine wasn't the best. I also used it as a crease brush. It wasn't terrible, but I wish it was more fluffy and shorter. I think the length kind of isn't working here. That's just my opinion. Number 6 is a standard oval shadow brush, and honestly you can't really mess up a shadow brush. I liked this, I guess, but I will say it's very dense, which is weird because the rest of them aren't, but it's super dense. And for an everyday shadow brush, I usually just like a wash of color, easy to blend, so I like something a little more fluffy. But I feel like this is good. It packs on a lot of pigment. I feel like it would work really well with glitter or loose pigment. I was thinking like with some Fix Plus, this would be really good for that. And this is like the densest shadow brush I now own, so it's kind of good to change things up. So yeah, overall it's not bad. Yeah, I think this one is pretty good. I actually did use Fix Plus and like a shimmer MAC shadow, and it worked really well, surprisingly. When I first sprayed the Fix Plus and dipped it in the shadow, I couldn't see the shadow in here. I'm like, oh no, like once again, no powder sticks on these brushes. But then when I put it on my eye, it actually showed up really nicely and evenly. So I think this one is actually a win, I would say. It is really large, so it could be used even to set the eye with like a cream shadow. I don't think it's like the perfect shadow brush, but I think it's a good shadow brush. And number 7 is, I would say, like a dense crease brush, shorter crease brush. So this I use in the outer corner of the eye, and it actually was, it did its job. It did what I wanted it to do. It packed on the color, and then I used a Morphe brush to blend it out. Once again, I don't think you can really mess this up. I think short dense bristles are really good for the outer V. So yeah, I have no complaints about this one. I thought it was a good brush. I used this 3 different ways because I was like, what is your use? Like, let's try to use you. I used it as like a crease brush, and it was too dense and didn't blend, but also I should know that, you know, it's pretty dense. So then I was like, oh, well, let's use it more as like a pencil brush, because it kind of has that like short, dense pencil brush kind of feel. So I used it to smudge some shadow under my lower lash line, and then I used it to smudge some liner on my lower lash line. It actually worked really well, although I used MAC Coaster Reach liner, so it's a pencil liner, so it's very creamy. So I mean, I feel like any brush would blend that out well, but it worked well. I actually really liked it for smudging liner, so I will probably keep using this one. Yeah. So number 8 is a basic liner brush, and to be honest, we both didn't use this one. We don't really use liner brushes that much. I do have a gel liner, but I just don't wear it that much. I think that this could be good. It's pretty dense, which is nice for liner brushes. It's a tad longer than I would like it looks pretty long on one end, and I feel like the body is very small. It is really skinny. Like, I almost think it's too skinny to hold on to, but again, we haven't tried it, so we can't really judge it fairly. So overall thoughts, I feel like $15, so I'd say like $1.80 for each brush. I mean, that's very cheap, so you get what you pay for, but I had a lot of high hopes for these because the reviews online were so good, and we like a lot of the other Illuminate products. So I'm just kind of disappointed overall, and I feel like if they would have spent more money on the bristles of the brushes and kind of perfecting those, that would have been way more worth their time than like spending it on the body, because I feel like the wand and the ferrule are really good quality. They're really good. They're really sturdy, but then the bristles, which is like the most important part, is just lackluster. Yeah, I agree. I totally think that like the Illuminate line was doing so well, and we do really like their shadows and their other products, that they decided to come out with brushes, which is great, but I think it seemed a bit rushed. And they probably just went with the first vendor and everything that they found and didn't really do the research on the bristles. And these days, like, you can find really good quality, inexpensive makeup, but it's hard to find good quality, inexpensive brushes. And so I just think they definitely should have spent more time in it. But overall, I think the eye brushes were better than the face brushes, for sure. And I will still use a few of them, so it's not like a total waste. $15 is inexpensive. So this is our first time doing makeup. You could make these work. You could, but I would just pass, honestly. I would say it's a hard pass. I wouldn't waste your money. I would, if you like want to save up and get better quality brushes, I think that's way more worth your time than going out and getting this like starter kit. Yeah. Thanks guys for watching this review video. Let us know what else you want us to review soon. And please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe down below.